Yo, 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 yo. Hello. Okay. So I was talking to one of my friends last week, and I was telling her about David, my boy David. I don't know, I say this frequently, but I may not have it said to y'all. David from the Bible is my boy. That's my dog, okay? It's my dog. And I feel like his story in the Bible is one of the most detailed stories in the Old Testament. Like, you see him from his 20s to like his death, like to his death, and he died. I just round out to like 50, 60. I just put him in his 60s. And you know minor characters in his story. Like there's chapters in the Bible, or there's people in the Bible like Samson. Samson has like one book in the Bible. He doesn't have a book. He has one chapter in one book. And for those who are like not that familiar with the Bible and the structure of it, one chapter is like about 47 verses, and 47 verse and a verse is like a sentence or two. So basically 50 to 60 sentences about Samson is in the Bible. Yet there are movies about this guy and Delilah, and people talk about this person a lot. But David has like his story his story. So it starts with Samuel. I'm gonna do a series of videos on David's life and the people in it. And some of the people in this video or in his story: Samson, Saul, Jonathan, Michael, Bathsheba. These are people that are in his story. But like that story that encompasses his starts in 1 Samuel. So this 1 Samuel is one book, 2 Samuel. And I think his story is kind of retold a little bit in the Kings and in the Chronicles specifically, because the Chronicles are the chronicles of the kings in Israel. Anyway, back to my boy David. I'm gonna jump, so I hope you guys go like later follow up and watch the backstory that I give on David. But this is like a jump ahead in his story. This is like where he's in his prime. Yeah, right at the edge of his prime, right towards the end of his prime, right? So he's living the good life. So he went to war with some people, right? And he won. And then he was treating the son of the guy he won, who he defeated. He's like, you know what? I'll take care of you, bro. Come out here. I'll help you out. So the guy, because I feel like it's loud, and I just don't know. So the guy that he was gonna treat, people were telling him, they were like, "You really gonna go to David, this guy who took out your dad? That's what you're gonna do? He gonna take you out. What you think? What you thought?" So then he listened to him, and he like played some of David's men. He shaved their beard and then cut their trousers so that their butt cheeks were out, like, and sent them packing basically. So David was like if y'all, I can't wait to tell you more about him. If y'all know David, like, why you try him like that? He is the most straightforward man. If he don't like you, and he'll tell you, he'll comfort you. But he's also a man of his word and his respect. I mean, this story's not gonna display that. Which is why this story is so significant. But yeah, so like that's what he was gonna be true to this guy. And the guy he listened to the wrong people. Think about who you listen to, y'all. So he listened to the wrong people. And so then David was like, all right, I'm gonna take y'all out. I'm gonna just take all of y'all out because you tried it. So then he goes to war with them, and the people who were talking smack also stepped in, and so God through David was just like, all right, I'll take all of y'all out. Or so they fought them. As soon as they went to fight, they ran away. David was like, that's what I thought, But a year later, it's so funny. It's like a year later, on the anniversary of the day they tried David was like, I'm gonna take the rest of y'all out. I'm gonna just finish y'all. This little dog is charging me. Small dog. Hey. Okay. No, you can go away now. Okay. So yeah. So yeah. So David was like, on the anniversary of the day they tried them, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to war and take them, rest them out. So then he like goes to war. Well, he sends his people out to war, right? So now David is at home chilling while his men are at war. So he wakes up one morning, stretches his arms out. It's like, yeah. And then he sees this woman off to a farm. Like, damn. She was taking a bath. So she was in the nude. And he noticed. And he said, yo, who's that? Talking to, he's a king. He got people always around him. Who's that? And they're like, oh yeah, that's Bathsheba, daughter of so-and-so and wife to Uriah. And he's all right, bring her. So then they go get Bathsheba. That's the woman he sees. So they go get Bathsheba and so, he sleeps with her. And it says, this is the Message Bible that I'm thinking specifically of. It says that he does this during her purification time, which is after her period. So essentially, he had sex with her when she was fertile, and she got pregnant. And he's like, damn, I didn't mean to do that. So mind you, I told you, like, I cannot wait to introduce you, like, if you don't already know David, to the character that he once was, or normally was. But yeah, so he was like, dang. Okay. So then what he did was he said, so mind you, her husband, Uriah, why he's not here and why David was able to accomplish this whole sleeping with his wife thing was because Uriah is at war. Fighting whose war? David's war. Okay. So Uriah's at war, and so David's like, yo, call Uriah back. So Uriah comes back home on orders of the king. And then David was like, asking him for information or whatever. Like, yeah, whatever. And he was like, yeah, go home. You know what? Thank you for your work. You can go home for the night. So his plan was, if Uriah's back, he can go home. He'll sleep with his wife. Then people will think the baby's Uriah's. We gonna be good. I'm gonna be straight on that. But no. Uriah went and slept at the palace doors, like slept where the servants sleep. And he didn't go home that night. And so then David was like followed up on Uriah and was like, hey, did he go home? And they were like, no, he stayed with the servants, slept. So then David was like, call him back, man. So then he was like, hey, so you're good and everything. He was like, right. He's like, so why did you go home? And then Uriah, being the upstanding soldier that he is, he's like, Your Honor, Your Majesty, we're at war. The table of the Ark in the Covenant, which is a very holy relic of God, is at the Ark of the Covenant is out in the fields. My boys, my fellow servants, soldiers, they out in the field. I can't just eat, drink, and go home and have sex with my wife. I can't do that. David was like, right, you're one of those. Normally I like y'all, but right now I need you to be one of those. I need you to go home and have sex with your wife. All internal thoughts, obviously. So then David was like, all right, come back tonight and we'll talk, okay? So then Uriah comes back tonight. David gets him drunk and he's like, all right, bet this is gonna work. No, it didn't work. Uriah did not go back home. He slept again in the servants' quarters. David was like, damn, you know what? Okay. So he sends him, so Uriah goes back to the war. He's like, all right, fine. So then Joab, who's David's general. Joab is David's boy, his general, the guy he sends to do the big stuff, the dirty stuff. He's the guy you call. So he sends a letter to Joab. He was like, I want you to do something. Put your boy Uriah, I don't know if they were friends like that, but put your boy Uriah on the front lines and kill him. Point blank. So Uriah makes a stupid move, and 18 servants die. 18 soldiers die, and Uriah being one of them because he was on the front lines. And so then Joab writes a letter back to David, giving him a report of, how everything went down, how everybody died. And then what he said to the servant who took the letter, he was like, yo, if David gets mad, let him know that Uriah the Hittite, I think that's what he was. Uriah the Hittite also died in this battle. So the servant brings home the letter and tells David. David's like, bro, what the? Joab, why you make that stupid move? Didn't you know that woman dropped the stone on that man's head and that's exactly how he died? Why you go so close to the wall? You really did that? Are you serious? And so he's going off. And then the servant's like, Joab also told me to let you know that Uriah the Hittite died. And David's like, oh. Tell Joab he did a great job. Tell him he's doing his best. Tell him, I'm here for you. Keep up the good work, okay? We'll get him next time. All right. So then the servant goes back, and David's like, all right, bet. We're good. So Uriah's dead now. So Bathsheba, the wife, she mourns her husband, and then David sends for her, and he makes her a wife. And he's like, okay, this worked out pretty well. But David had, there's a prophets of the land. So in this day and age, the Israelites, these people of the Bible, the main, I would go as far to say the main character of the Bible, but the main people that the Bible focuses on, the Israelites, were at this time ruled by a king, David being their second king. But they also had prophets. So the king is number one in power, but prophets were a representative of God. And God was higher in their totem pole. So their king was respected, but so were the prophets respected. So the prophets could come and check the king, right? It was a check and balance, just a little bit. So Nathan, the prophet at the time, comes and checks the king. And I'm going to read exactly what Nathan says. Give me a moment while I pull it up. So I'm reading from the Message Bible, 2 Samuel 12. And so it says, but God was not pleased with what David had done and sent Nathan to David. Nathan said to him, there are two men in the same city, one rich and the other poor. The rich man had a huge flock of sheep, herds, and cattle. Oops. No, don't change the light now. Okay. The rich man had a huge flock of sheep, herds, and cattle. The poor man had nothing but one little female lamb, which he had bought and raised. It grew up with him, his children, as a member of the family. It ate off his plate, and drank from his cup, even nastier, and slept in his bed. What is going on? It was like a daughter to him. One day, a traveler dropped in on the rich man. He was too stingy to take an animal from his own herd or flocks to make a meal for his visitor. So he took the poor man's lamb and prepared a meal to set before the guests. That's just some trifling stuff. He got all of this flock. He got a guest, and he don't want to kill one of his flock to feed this guest. So he takes the poor man's lamb, the man lets drink from the cup of his mouth, eat with him, and sleep with him. That man's lamb, he kills it, and feeds it to the guests. Coming back to where I was. And then, so that was told to him. I don't know if Nathan read it like I just did, or he just recited it. If they were reciting people, I feel like it was still recited. So he could have read from scroll, but I feel like Nathan recited it. Anyway, he said that, and then David, he exploded. he exploded. He was like, as surely as God lives, he said to Nathan, the man who did this ought to be lynched. He must repay for the lamb 4 times over for his crime and his stinginess. And then Nathan said, you're the man. Drops mic. And here's what God said. And here's what God, the God of Israel, has to say. So he says, you're the man. And here's what God has to say to you. I made you king over Israel. I freed you from the fist of Saul. I can't wait to tell y'all about Saul. I freed you from the fist of Saul. I gave you your master's daughter and other wives to have and to hold. I gave you both Israel and Judah. And if it hadn't been enough, I'd gladly thrown in much more. So why have you treated the word of God with blazing contempt, doing this great evil? You murdered Uriah the Hittite. He was a Hittite. Great. Then took his wife as yours. Worse, you killed him with the Ammonite sword. You know, the people I'm helping you kill. You had them kill him. You didn't even kill him with your own sword. You didn't give him the dignity to die by your sword. Trifling. And now, because you treated God with such contempt and took Uriah the Hittite's wife as your wife, killing and murdering will continually plague your family. This is God speaking, remember? Basically, like, you know, I don't play, so this is gonna happen. When I say something, it's gonna happen, which is so sad. I'll make trouble for you out of your own family. And that he did. I'll take your wives from right out in front of you. I'll give them to some neighbor. He'll go to bed with them openly. You did your deed in secret, and I'm gonna do mine with the whole country watching. Then David confessed, I've sinned against God. Nathan pronounced, yes, but that's not God's last word. God forgives your sin. You won't die for it. But because of your blasphemous behavior, the son, because I don't know if I mentioned, oh, I did. We talked about this, that she was pregnant. The son born to you will die. After Nathan went home, God conflicted the child of Uriah's wife. He continually calls her Uriah's wife. He's not calling her Bathsheba, like the Bible is saying. Anyway, he afflicted the child that Uriah's wife bore to David and came down, and he was sick. And David prayed desperately to God for this little boy. So I'm gonna pause here because this is the whole reason why I brought up this story. Because I was telling my friend that I feel like Psalms, the book of Psalms, which is like a song book of the Bible. So it's a compilation of different works of music from the Bible. And David wrote a lot of them. So in this time, David wrote Psalms 51, which I'm also gonna recite to y'all. And I just feel like, yeah, it's like poetry to me. Like, it definitely is poetry to me. David played the harp. I am going to it. Generous in love. This is Psalms 51, by the way. Generous in love, God give grace. Huge in mercy, wipe out my bad record. Scrub away my guilt. Soak out my sins in your laundry. I know I've been bad. My sins are staring down at me. You're the one I violated, and you're the one who's seen it all, seen the full extent of my evil. You have all the facts before you. Whatever you decide about me is fair. I've been out of step with you for a long time, in the wrong since before I was born. What you're after is truth in the inside, truth from the inside out. Enter me, then conceive a new life, true life. Soak me in your laundry, and I'll come out clean. Scrub me, and I'll have Snow white life. Soak me and I'll have a snow white life. Tune me into foot-tapping songs. Set the once broken bones to dancing. Don't look too close for blemishes. Give me a clean bill of health. God, make in me God, make a fresh start in me. Shape a Genesis week from the chaos of my life. Don't throw me out with the trash or fail to breathe holiness in me. Bring me back to great exile. Put a fresh wind in my sails. Give me a job of teaching rebels your ways, so the lost can find their way home. Commute my death sentence, God, my salvation, and I'll sing anthems to your life-giving ways. Unbutton my lips, dear God, and I'll loose them with your praise. Going through the motions doesn't please you. A flawless performance is nothing to you. I learned God worship when my pride was shattered. Heart-shattered lives, ready for love. Don't for a moment escape God's notice. Make Zion the place you delight in. Repair Jerusalem's broken down walls. Then you'll get real worship from us. Acts of worship, small and large, including the bulls including all the bulls they can heave onto your altar. So that's Psalms 51 in the Message version. And that is what David had to say after his sin. He poured out his heart to God. And David is called frequently a man after God's own heart. So while this story doesn't paint a great picture of David, to me, the full painting of David in the Bible expresses God's understanding of who we are as humans. He knows that we're great. Sometimes we can do amazing things like fight Goliaths, or we can do tragic things like kill a man in war to take his wife when you already got 3 of them. So for those who have done something this past month, that you're kind of ashamed of, understand that you can be forgiven for that, and you can start with forgiving yourself, because you are a whole human, and that includes the sin. Forgive yourself, ask for forgiveness from whoever you may need to get forgiveness from, and God, and let it be. And for those who are witnessing people who have sinned or done something that you're like, oh, you trifling, understand that you're not perfect, and they're not perfect. And that's an aspect of life that you got to live with, or that we have to live with, that we live with every day. So don't be quick to judge. So that is the story about my boy David, where he showed his humanness. If you want to know more, come back next week where I tell you about David's beginning and why I love this man so much. And if you want to know even more, check out 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel. That is all for today, folks. Bye.